Welcome back to Face the Nation. We have some new polling on the 2020 campaign, but first we want to take a look at some results surveying Americans about the president's tweets saying that 4 House Democrats, quote, go back to the countries from which they came. Joining us now are CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe and CBS News elections and surveys director Anthony Salvanto. Good to have you both here. Anthony, this was explosive. It was dominating a week's worth of news headlines. What were voters telling you?
Well, at a top line level, you could see what you might have expected, which is partisan splits on this. A majority said that they disliked the tweets, disliked what the president said. Democrats especially called the tweets racist and un-American, but Republicans said the media made too much of it. They thought the tweets were not racist. They thought the tweets were pro-American. And, you could see some of the political wheels starting to turn, too. The 4 Democratic congresswomen referenced in the tweets are better known and unpopular among Republicans than they are among the country at large. So
that's interesting.
You start to see maybe the president trying to rile up that base in advance of 2020. But I think if you pull back a second and then look at the context, too, in the poll, Americans told us that they feel like the country is divided along racial lines and that the parties, they think, are almost taking sides in this. Democrats feeling that the Republicans and the president are trying to assert the interests of white voters over minorities, and Republicans feeling that the Democratic Party is trying to assert the interests of minorities over white voters. And so that split starts to define what we're headed into in the 2020 election, and people say that they feel that the parties each represent very different views of what it means to be American. And that's kind of the context going forward.
Ed, is this the kind of rhetoric we're going to be hearing through this campaign? Should we just steel ourselves?
Very well could be. And it's the kind of thing that really presents a challenge to Democrats who clearly want to be talking about other issues because they understand that's how the party won congressional control last year, by sort of acknowledging the president but focusing on what they would be for. But this was one of those weeks, this was one of those incidents that they simply couldn't ignore. This morning, Joe Biden is out with a new video that once again amplifies his concerns about the president's rhetoric and how it could be dividing the country. Throughout the week, you heard Democratic candidates out on the trail talking about it. But interestingly, they start calling out the president a little bit for what he's doing here and trying to remind voters that there might be some other motives behind this. Amy Klobuchar, for example, repeatedly this past week kept saying he's doing this to distract you. He's doing this to change the subject and keep the focus on him instead of the issues we want to be talking to you, the voters, about, whether that's health care, Social Security, the economy, whatever. Has a point about that, and it's one that I think Democrats will continue to make.